Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is politics and pissing people off. So I've noticed that I lose not a lot, but I lose several friends, and some of these friends have been like lifelong friends, especially during the last election, the last presidential election, Obama, the last Obama versus Romney. And I'm very outspoken when it comes to the whole electoral process. However, I don't judge what other people think, and everybody has their own right to vote or not to vote. I just had an interesting situation where a Facebook acquaintance, not a friend, but an acquaintance, we were friends, technically friends on Facebook, but we were acquaintances. The lady had reached out to me a couple years ago and informed me of some really toxic fish, and she'd gotten really sick, and she saw my videos, and she was following me, and she thought I'd want to know this information, so we kind of clicked. However, I just got an email from her on Facebook. This was about 2 weeks ago, and this is how it goes. And she goes, "Hi, Marcus, we corresponded a while back," and she just refreshed me on how we had known each other and about how the fish had almost killed her. And I said, I knew who she was right away. She goes, now that I see you are a Trump supporter, I will be unfriending you, as I cannot have neo-Nazis in my world. Shame on you." So I said to her, "I'm not a Trump supporter. I've made that very clear. I've been very clear on all of my posts about Trump that I happen to like certain things that he says, but it doesn't mean I'm going to vote for him. I like Donald Trump for certain things. I like him for exposing a lot of the system, having a platform to expose the system, the electoral system, how I personally think that the whole process is a fraud. And that is because, and I'm not going to say Donald Trump is the only non-supported candidate out there. There's been many non-supported candidates, many non-sponsored candidates out there. But the problem is these candidates never have a platform because they don't get on a Republican or a Democratic ticket. They get on an independent somewhere. Presidential candidates like Jill Stein, Rocky Anderson, and even Ralph Nader. But Ralph Nader stirred the pot a lot because he was able to get on national debates. Well, have you noticed that none of these other independent candidates actually are on the national debates? That's because when Ralph Nader went and debated, he embarrassed everybody so bad that the whole system said, we need to change. The TV networks, the advertisers, the people who were backing the candidates, corporate America said no more independent candidates are allowed to debate. And we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. And they went in and went after the networks and said, if you allow this to happen, we're going to pull advertising money from you, and we're going to pull our ads. It basically threatened the networks for our so-called democracy. People think that, we have this right to vote and this and that. And the reality is we have a right to pick candidates. We have a right to vote for candidates that corporate America has hand-selected for us that are fitting corporate America's agenda. They're all sponsored very, very heavily. They're funded by these people. Obama was funded by the banking industry, and look what he did. He bailed the banks out. No Americans got bailed out. Why couldn't the money have gone to the Americans, to citizens, and then turn around and say, here's the money, here's $100,000, pay the bank off now, your mortgage, or pay a portion towards your mortgage, and make that happen to a twofold effect, as opposed to saying to the banks, here's all this money. The nuclear industry was one of Obama's massive supporters. And after Fukushima, Obama still said, let's open 25 nuclear power plants. How in your right mind can you do that? Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was written by the health insurance companies. It was written by the insurance companies. It wasn't written by Obama and his people. They basically had carte blanche and wrote what they wanted and then had Obama sign it in. So you have to understand it. all these candidates are very, very well connected, and they're funded by special interest groups. Now, Trump is claiming that he's not taking any money. Now, of course, I assume that Trump does have an agenda here. And personally, I don't think that Trump is the best candidate for the job. But I have to tell you, he's exposing these other people, and he's not afraid to call people out. And that's what I like about him. I think our next president needs to be somebody who can speak up and buck the trend and say, hey, this is not what we're doing anymore. This is how it's been done, and this is a terrible way of doing it. And, that's what Ralph Nader, he stood up and he spoke, and he goes, this is not the way you do things. And look what happened to him. He got banned after that. In fact, all independent candidates got banned from having a platform for us Americans to choose. So just because somebody voted for Obama, or somebody wants to vote for Hillary, or somebody wants to vote for Trump, I'm not going to unfriend them on Facebook. I'm not going to talk to them. I'm going to say, hey, here's my personal thoughts on this whole process. Here's my personal thoughts on the candidates. So I responded back to this lady, Gail, and I said, I've made it very clear that I'm not a Trump supporter. I've made it very clear. And she goes, you show up as a like on his page. And that's because, yes, I do like Trump's page, but I happen to like Trump's page long before he was a candidate. I liked Trump's page because I liked some of his business. Not all of his business, but some of his business. If you noticed, if you've ever read any of his books, I've read every single one of his books, and I've taken something away from every single one of them. There's dynamite stuff in those books, okay? Everything from branding to standards, and Trump has impeccable standards. If you've ever seen any of his properties, if you've ever seen any of his properties, he builds them fantastic. He spares no expense. His golf courses are incredible. He knows he has amazing standards. And as a chef, I always worked for very nice places like the Greenbrier, the Broadmoor. I worked at a Michelin 3-star in London, one of the best 25 restaurants in the world at the time. So I was used to working at hotels and places that had lots of money to spend and make their facilities top notch. And Trump is one of those people that likes to make his facilities top notch. So I would have loved to have worked for any of Trump organizations throughout my career. I think I would have learned a lot. In consequence, I read his books, and I adopted one or two of his business principles. And I think that all this stuff is beneficial that he had to say in his books. I took what I wanted to. So I was a fan of Trump's way before he announced his candidacy, and that was when I had liked his page. So I had actually explained that to her. I explained. So she goes, oh, you might want to remove your like from his page unless you follow him, and the poison that he spews out, yes, so it keep me current on what's going on. I said, I am very clear in my videos and comments that I don't support him as far as a vote. I might like statements that he makes from time to time. I read all of his books. I've read his books years ago. I've liked his page for years. So I've explained this all to him. I said, but you can unfriend me if you want. And I responded as saying I don't unfriend anyone because of their thoughts. We all have our own thoughts, and that's our right. And that's what makes people unique. Now, I primarily like to eat vegan. I don't like to go to a steak restaurant. I don't like to sit next to people that are going to eat a steak and this and that. But I do that because they're my friends. And I'm not there to antagonize them and make them feel bad. If they want to come to me and say, hey, Marcus, I noticed that you don't, give your kids antibiotics. I'd like to know more. I don't look at a parent and say, man, you're a bad parent for giving your kids antibiotics, or you're a bad parent for giving your kids sugar and sodas and Mountain Dew and crap and cake and all. I don't judge. If they want to come to me and say, hey, what did you do with your kids? I really like what you did. Will you help me? Perfect, no problem. I'm not going to unfriend somebody because they have a different thought than me, because they have a different paradigm than me. I think that's totally ridiculous. And whether I like Trump or whether you like Hillary Clinton, I think we should all be able to have a friendly debate. I have a very good friend who is a physician's assistant, and we see totally different as far as the whole medicine paradigm. I mean, 100% total different directions. It's like not even night and day how we think. And, and she likes to egg me on. She likes to say, you know, this, this, and this, and she likes to just say stuff that I come back to her with answers. But we have a friendly debate, and that's what it's about as far as having friends and responsible friendships and responsible relationships with loved ones, family members, spouses. I know a lot of couples that one person's a vegetarian, one person's not a vegetarian, but just to think because you don't think the way that somebody else does that you have to unfriend them, I think is a totally irresponsible way of thinking. And I also think that if you're going to unfriend me because of that, it's to the point where it's just so ridiculous that I can't be myself and you can't be yourself, and we can't share the things that we might have in common. This lady and I had several things in common as far as food. We really had several things in common as far as food. So, and I said, I can't get upset. I said, I can't get upset about this. You have your right to vote. I have my right to vote. But I'm definitely not going to unfriend you. It's a corrupt system, and I don't support. And I said I don't support voting to begin with because I personally believe it's a scam. And guess what? She unfriended me anyway. So, you know, it's just amazing. It's just amazing that people have to be, that she's criticizing me for liking somebody, but she can't maintain a acquaintance on Facebook because somebody else. I assume these people go around just unfriending a bunch of people. Like I said in the past, I've lost several friends, and one was a lifelong friend from like second grade that unfriended me at the last election. Totally unfriended me. And there were several other people. I'm like, where do these people go? And you know, I knew who they were supporting. I can see when they post things, you know, for this guy, for that person, and I can see that, so I know where they're supporting. And I just happen to say, hey, here's a totally different angle. If you want to look at the political system in something totally different, and you think that you have a right to vote, here's what my opinion is on your right to vote. Here's what my opinion is on the political system. So, you know, I might be a bit outspoken. I might speak up a lot, but you know, I have a right to do that. I have a right to do that. I don't have a right to control your mind, though, and that's my point on this. We all have our own thoughts. We can all do our own things. You can you can write in Obama all you want for the next 10 elections. I don't care. I personally didn't vote for him, and I personally don't like what he's done, but that's your right. That's all of our rights. We can go on and on what you like to do and what I like to do, but the bottom line is, you know, don't let it ruin a friendship. And please, 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 you know, especially with family members, you know, I've known a lot of people that have gotten really bent out of shape, and it's really damaged a relationship, and including us, Jamie and I, in the very, very beginning, with the way we wanted to eat and the way our family wanted us to eat. You know, I don't care how my family eats. Of course, I care about my family. I want them to eat healthy, and I'm here to help them and say, hey, if you want food, this is what I'm going to give you. But don't tell me and my kids the way that you want them to eat when you're not the parent. Same thing with voting. I'm not going to tell you how to vote because you have the right to vote and I have the right to vote. That's the bottom line. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching this video. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and definitely pass it on.